Hello and welcome back for another timeless video. Today we will be revisiting the Turbo Reanimator deck. The shell of the deck remains unchanged and we will be testing out a few different creatures from last time. So to quickly recap the general premise, we are looking to use our Divest, Entomb, or Thoughtseize to get a creature into our graveyard and then bring it back to the battlefield using either Reanimate or the death side of Life Death. Divest and Thoughtseize will both discard ourselves, whereas Entomb will be able to take any creature we want out of our deck and put it directly into the graveyard. And then for the creatures, what we took out from the last time over here in the sideboard are 3 Serra's Emissary, 3 Agent of Treachery, and the Atraxa. And in their place, we have put in 3 Sire of Insanity, which at the beginning of each end step, each player discards their hand, which means that if we get this into play on turn 1, our opponent will discard their entire hand, and then before they can even play anything, they'll need to top deck into some mana. So this is a very powerful early game play, oftentimes causing a concession immediately once it gets into the battlefield. And then we also put in 4 copies of Tyrannex Rex as an additional dinosaur for our Gishtha to hit. And this dinosaur has Ward 4, which means in Timeless, it will pretty much be immune to any type of spot removal. And then with the haste and toxic ability, it will provide a 3-turn clock by itself without the additional support of other creatures. Then creatures that were carried over from the previous version were the 4 copies of Galta, Stampede Tyrant. When this card comes into the battlefield, we're able to put any number of creatures from our hand onto the battlefield. So that would include any of our other powerful creatures that are in the deck, as well as the 4 copies of Bogart Trawler. Then we still have the 3 copies of Gishtha, Sun's Avatar. This is one of our prime Reanimate targets. It comes into the battlefield with haste and often hits our opponent for a big chunk of damage the turn it comes in. And then when it deals damage to a player, we can reveal that many cards from the top of our library and put any number of dinosaur cards from among them onto the battlefield. So with the increased number of dinosaurs in our deck, we're hoping to hit more creatures with this ability and put even more pressure on our opponent to close out the game. We have our single copy of Iona Shield of Emeria, which can completely lock opponents from casting cards if we know what color deck they're playing. It can also help name removal colors to keep our opponent from getting our reanimation targets off the battlefield and allowing us a turn or two to win via combat damage. And we have the single copy of Valgavoth, whose ward ability, sacrificing 3 non-land permanents, again often means this card is going to be immune to spot removal in Timeless. And then it acts as Graveyard Hate, where our opponent can no longer get cards into their graveyard. So decks such as Oops All Spells will fail to function, as they can no longer mill over their targets that they return, such as the Ghouls and the Prized Amalgams. And then for the mana base, we have the same mana base as last time, 8 Basic Swamp, the 4 Bogart Trawler, and 4 Fellow Profane. These dual lands can be pitched to Chrome Mox, which is why we're including them, even though they have the downside of causing us direct damage if we need to play them untapped. And then we also have 4 copies of Dark Ritual to help power out our combo on turn 1. Dark Ritual, in my opinion, is one of, if not the strongest cards in Timeless at the moment. The massive boost in mana allows you to do really broken and powerful things on turn 1. And if you're on the play, you can oftentimes just win the game before your opponent even gets a chance to do anything. I'm looking forward to testing out these new changes, and I'm hoping that we are able to demonstrate the power of these new cards and see how they compare against what was in the previous version. Before we jump into the gameplay, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe to the video. It really helps the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into the games. This hand has a turn 1 Gishtha or Valgoth, depending on which we want to go for. We will keep it. Ponder from our opponent. Here we will actually take our Galta. We'll put all of our creatures into play. We'll hit our opponent's graveyard and they concede. Good game. Here we could Thoughtseize ourselves on turn 1 and then have it turn to Galta. Although we don't currently have anything to cheat in. I do think it's worth giving it a try though. We'll play out a tapped Felmire. Looking to dodge Strip Mine. So it looks like the energy deck from our opponent. And that is a good pickup. So we will Thoughtseize ourselves and take the Galta. And then reanimate it. Ouch. Let's see if we can hit some more dinosaurs. We do. Here we have 27 power on board. Our opponent can't interact with the Tyrannax Rex. They throw out a few blockers and concede. This hand has a turn 2 Reanimate attempt. Our opponent likely to be on Oops All spells or Eldrazi based on the Once Upon a Time. It's actually going to be a Wasteland deck. So here we will get our Gishtha in the graveyard as soon as possible. Our opponent is able to rotate for Bojuka Bog most likely if they have a second land. There they have it. So they will be holding up Bojuka Bog here. That attack seemed awfully strange to me. Maybe our opponent does not have a Bojuka Bog in their deck. Maybe they have some other form of graveyard hate, but that resolved. Do they have a removal spell? They do not, and they concede. This hand does not have any way to get a creature into our graveyard, so we will mulligan. Here we have Entomb, but no reanimation effect. Alright, this hand has both the Reanimate and the discard. We will throw back the Chromox and the Bogart Trawler. Actually, we might want to combo off on turn 2, so let's get rid of the Sire here. Doing it this way prevents our opponent from reanimating our own creature, but it does leave us susceptible to discard. And there's a Tamiyo on our opponent's side.
This is an interesting story.
Do they have a Chromox as well? Nope, they have a Grief. Here, Reanimate is the most likely discard target, but they might try and strand us with the Valgoth and Reanimate in hand. They agree. Reanimate is the take. And here we have an Entomb. So let's thought seize our opponent and see what they're working with. Yep, they do have a Reanimate of their own, as well as a Ponder. I think we take the Ponder here. This means that we won't be able to cast our Entomb until we are ready to reanimate it. And the Architects will provide massive card advantage for our opponent now. Another land. Tamiyo generates another blue token. They have plenty of pieces of cardboard now to sacrifice if they needed to target Valgavoth.
This will be a boon to my research.
We'd love to draw one of our reanimation effects here, and we do. Here, let's take a look real quick. This is when it deals damage to a player. We could have our opponent discard their hand. I think we are going to try and get a few more dinosaurs into play by attacking our player and ignoring Tamiyo. Do they have a removal spell in hand? Does not appear so. We hit for 6. And here we do find another dinosaur. I know we've only played a couple games so far, but it does feel much better having a higher density of dinosaurs in the deck. The Gishta definitely has a higher hit rate, whereas the last time we played the Turbo Reanimator, we had a number of times where we just completely whiffed and did not find a creature to cheat into play. Our opponent will draw a land here. They also shock in the Watery Grave. Let's see what their Entomb package looks like. St. Melinda will likely make it so that our Gisha can't attack. Here they'll also get a 4/4, so we don't have a good attack with the Rex.
If you need me, I'll be in the library.
Dark Ritual is not going to do it here. I don't know if there's any point in even continuing. Eventually they will get the Tamiyo ultimate, and it should be trivial for them to win from there. We'll take another draw step or two, but without a way to get a creature in our graveyard and without a reanimation effect, I think we're too many turns away. They have another Architect. These cards also, the Tamiyos and the Architects, they just provide absolutely massive card advantage.
Think before you act.
Right, we take our draw step, and the Rex is not going to do it. This hand has a turn 1 Entomb into turn 2 Reanimate. We will keep it. We could also Thoughtseize on turn 1 and then cast our Entomb and Reanimate all at the same time. And our opponent does have a Thoughtseize. We'll take that. They chose to lead on the Architect because it provides much better card advantage over time. They will Brainstorm to change their hand around. I'm looking for a fetch land here. And they do find one. Crack it immediately. Did they also find the Thoughtseize? Does not look like it. Could be a Tameo or another Architect. Deathrite Shaman will be too slow. No need to take the damage. Make the Dark Ritual. Then we will Entomb. We'll get our Gishtha. And then for mana efficiency, we will play Death. Swing in. And we hit 2 dinosaurs. No need to put in our other Galta. And we pass it back to our opponent. 27 trample damage in play, spread across 3 bodies, and that's too much for our opponent. Good game. This hand has a turn 1 Reanimate. We will keep it. And then since we are on the play, I think we're going to go with the Sire of Insanity. We'll both discard our hands. And our opponent is on a 4-turn clock. They concede. Good game. Here we have a turn 1 Entomb or discard, but we do not have a reanimation effect. We're going to have to take a mulligan. Our opponent has taken a mulligan. This is good. We'll throw back one of the 2 Thoughtseize. Our opponent fetches an island and plays Ponder. They did mulligan quite aggressively, so this might be a show and tell deck. They shuffle their deck and draw a card. We will bolt in Felmire, ouch. And then we will divest. Here I think we get rid of the Sire. And we'll bring it back. Our opponent can discard their hand. And they are on a show and tell variant. So they're going to have a lot of trouble coming back from this and will most likely concede. Good game. Here we have a divest into Reanimate. We are on the draw. Our opponent has taken a mulligan. Most likely up against combo. We'll give it a try, but it could be too slow. There is a tapped Hallowed Fountain. We'll take this opportunity to Thoughtseize our opponent. They will likely strip mine us. So here we will get rid of their Saint Helena, which we can reanimate next turn. They hold up Bowmaster. That is fine. And we will actually target ourselves here. Let's see what the deck can do. Our opponent can chump block to stop 2 of this damage, but we'll get through for at least 5. Our opponent takes all 7. Let's see what we reveal. 1 Rex. So that puts lethal on board. Opponent will flash in Bowmaster, ping our face. They play out the strip mine and concede. Good game. So there you have it. I do feel that this version was actually a bit of an upgrade over what we played previously. The Sire of Insanity was very powerful and got us a handful of easy victories, and there were numerous times where we hit the Tyrannex Rex off of Gishtha, which I feel in the first deck we had a lot of misses where we connected with Gishtha and then didn't hit anything in the top 5 or 7 cards of our deck. And in Timeless, I feel that could be a bit too slow for victories, giving your opponent turns to either use the Swords to Plowshare or to combo off themselves. One thing we didn't come up against too much in these matches were control decks, so we weren't having to fight through cards such as Force of Negation, so we were able to resolve our cards and win fairly quickly. So overall, I was very happy with how the deck performed, and I definitely give this one 2 thumbs up and recommend you give it a try for yourselves. As always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.